All right, y'all. It is time for another show. Tonight, we are going to cover the REAC committee meeting. Should be interesting. We don't normally cover that. All right, looks like we're good. I've had a bunch of folks in my space today. Shout out to the Goodwill Youth STEM program for the summer. But we're going to get into this REAC meeting here and cover that. Last night, you can catch our show for the city council meeting. Sunday at noon, we will do a summary and a recap there. Let's see if they'll let us in this meeting here. Hopefully you guys have had a good time. Put my email in here. A conduit podcast show. All right. So we're getting ourselves all logged in here.
the actual writing, I can send that out this week. But the main things that they did agree on and do want to put forward is the encouraging GARE training for all employees, working with the mayor to hire a consultant to kind of figure out if we are going to be moving forward with like a full-time staff member for, we say DEI. I know that term isn't, but I don't know another term for it, but like basically a DEI chief. Then we also have accepting REAC recommendations, along with anything else that is being proposed by the committee will be under consideration. So that's actually going to be in the council goals and priorities stated. And then, Anna, am I missing anything else that we?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're missing, you sent out the goals and priorities to everybody on this committee, right, for their review? So that was my question, is did everybody get it? No. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat right now. Please go on, Quinn.
Yeah, thanks. I think things that were rejected were, it doesn't look like there's traction for getting actual paid membership on the committee. That for that, they are kind of pushing back and saying no other committee is being paid. So that's something that I don't think is going to be approved by council, at least at this juncture. Other things that I think are the biggest thing is, oh, sorry, Christine put it in. Equity and government coordinates.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. So
Christine already put it in.
That's really what is something that the full council is agreeing to put into their goals and priorities. But I did let them know that I was going to come back to you all and see if you had any revisions. Again, this is an advisory committee, so we can't force council to do anything, but I can certainly take it back to them as chair and say, hey, they really want to push X, Y, or Z, and see if they want to accept any of those.
Can all of you see that in the chat? Okay.
Quinn, you did not email that to us, did you? That's been referenced.
Sorry, what is that?
Anna said the document you took before City Council, which I think some of it is just put in the chat. That didn't get emailed out to us, correct? This is the first time we're seeing this language, right?
So this is the language that we consolidated post-community conversation and the goals and priorities that came out of that. So like the 83%, the 53%. So basically the language that I presented to council, Airen, was from your slides that you consolidated from the community conversation.
Got it. This is the rewriting of that. Okay. I was trying to.
Yeah, you're like, where did this come from?
I referred to you sending it out to the committee, and I'm just clarifying this version of it. We didn't see. This is the first time we're seeing it.
Yeah, the version you're looking at right now is what council then did with the information that I gave them. So I can share with you the language from the PowerPoint, basically of the recommendations that came from community. Then during our retreat, it went through debate, and this number 7 that Christine put up is what the council is willing to vote on as a council goal and priority. So as you can see, some of the stuff they rejected, some of the stuff they were on board with.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, you're muted. Sarah, please, there you go.
I was having trouble getting my cursor over there.
No worries.
You said, just now, Quinn, you said this is something they will vote on, or they did in fact vote on?
Yeah, so at the retreat, we kind of went through a big brainstorming kind of retreat session, and we all came to consensus that this was the language that we could all agree to, that people would be willing to go through. Then Lori sent out that language. This is just one part. It's number 7. There's a lot of other goals, and people on council had time to put in input. We also talked about it at the study session, and so we're going to be voting on it next council, which is next week. And I let them know that I was going to be sharing this language with you all to get any input, and I'll advocate for any input that you all are kind of wanting and that I believe in.
Yeah, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. It's really good to hear that it was discussed and that there is specific, there's consensus around taking action. I think I'm seeing this language for the first time also, which doesn't mean it wasn't sent. I might have missed it, but anyway, I don't remember seeing this. It's not clear to me what it means to say coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. Who is coordinating?
This is what the language is like in all of the goals and priorities, Sarah. It's all extremely vague.
Policies and programs regarding equity with a race equity lens. Is there anything about reviewing and who is doing the reviewing and to what end that makes it even have any substance to it? I'm sorry.
And that's something.
No, it's an excellent question.
And that's something that I was hoping somebody would bring this up. I didn't want to guide it. I want the information. I want to be advocating for what community wants and what you all want. But basically, yeah, there was kind of a watering down of language to go to like all equity rather than, hey, we need to focus on race equity. And I want to push back on that. I would like to put programs and policies to support race equity, something to firm that up. And I was hoping that you all might want to submit. And what I was hoping you would do is just shoot email with suggestions to city council, and they will get it to me. I won't be responding to it to violate quorum, and I will be able to talk about that when that agenda item comes up next week. So if you have suggestions to this, I'm happy to bring that forward. And again, it's an advisory committee, so they might reject those or they might accept those. But one of my personal recommendations, yeah, and this is a good point, especially with the separation of powers. Goals are kind of the starting point. We weren't not going to have detailed, but I do think even as a starting point and a larger vision, centering race equity is something I would like to do. So please, email with suggestions. Again, we can't talk about it over email and we can't, respond over email. But if you have some thoughts, I'm happy to bring them to the council meeting next week.
I'm just going to interrupt briefly to say I will still be listening, but I will be out of the room for 2 minutes. Quinn, you have control.
Thanks, Anna. I don't know who had their hand up first. Go ahead, Darryl.
I just want to say that they're not listening to the community members. The community members wanted more people of color at the table to frame this. They didn't want a bunch of white men doing it. You feel me? There are too many blind spots here, and this is all wrong. The fact that they have nobody there to explain the essence of the removing of just a word or two, how that takes the teeth out of it intentionally. And they don't have nobody in those spaces to tell them that, and they don't want that. That's the whole problem. They want it fluffy, so it can make them look good, but not piss off anybody on the other side. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate that they spending this time just to come up with some BS.
And when you say a word that has teeth, you're specifically talking about like, hey, we got to be focused on race equity, right? Is that because that was
on everything? The lenses have to be changed, Quinn. It has to be seen differently. Every subject has to be seen differently until the light clicks. The light hasn't clicked with Eric Younger. The light hasn't clicked with Mayor Wheeler. He hasn't spent enough time in the essence of Black people to figure out what this thing really is. They thinking they can get it from a book or a movie, or they can study for it on the test or something. No, you got to have the people who are most affected by it in the room so that they can explain to you in no uncertain terms how the changes affect them. And they're not doing that. They think because they're in charge, they're the leaders, but that's not the way it goes. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. If they were intentional about it, they'd be trying to work with us, in cohesion with us. Race equity is a big thing. They didn't have to do all this for LGBTQ rights. They didn't have to do all this for the Asian hate bill. Where are we going with this?
Well, you know, I agree with you that this committee should have more members who are community leaders who experience racism. I think that's where we're going to get what you refer to, Darryl, as meat.
Aaron, and then
No.
Aaron
Okay.
had his hand up for a bit, and then Anna, I'm just handing it back to you.
Okay. Aaron, please go ahead.
Yeah, I get that we have a certain time for this meeting and you're asking us to individually email you recommendations, Quinn. And I just want to ask, is it going to be less powerful than if we actually discuss here and come up with collectively suggestions rather than you have 15 emails or whatever to go through from us and try to consolidate those? Like, why are we emailing you instead of figuring out our collective committee input right here is my question.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine with either. Again, my kind of thought process was the language that I presented was based on the community conversations and all the work that had been done in the last year, right, of this committee. And then, of course, city council can take what they want and reject what they want. And this is kind of what came back. So if you want to come back to a conversation of what kind of things you would like to recommend, I'm happy to do that. I was just, again, trying to figure out some sort of way to get that information in a way that's expedient.
I just want to read what Sarah said. So I get the thanks for Christine for the header. I see that equity in government is like a header. It's a topic 7 or whatever. But that very first one, coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs. Well, the city council already coordinates with the mayor on reviewing, and that's a throwaway statement. So there should be something in there. Coordinate with the mayor on reviewing and implementing policies and programs specifically through a race equity lens. And I would add, with the advice and consultation of the REAC. That's our entire purpose for existing, is to advise on those things. So I would add that on. And also in the point that says it says encourage GARE participation, I would add on, it says now for council members, department directors, human resources staff, I would add on city for the mayor and for the REAC members as well. I mean, I think it should be beyond that. It should be all the staff people, but I'm assuming there's been some negotiation there about how many people can be pushed for within the building itself. But what we know from our research that we're going to talk about later is there is no additional cost in terms of to GARE to have anybody with the City of Bremerton email address accessing that. So what would be the downside to encouraging across the full spectrum of city employees, volunteers, et cetera, anybody who has an email address or could be issued an email address to the city? So I think that list of people should have more people in it, and at minimum add the mayor and our committee.
Aaron, can you write this down? That'd be really helpful, because here's what's, in my experience, here's what happens if people just take notes on what you're saying at normal conversational speed, is they're going to miss parts of what you're saying.
Yeah, I will. I'm saying I will email Quinn, but I'm voicing it out loud in this meeting specifically so my fellow committee members can tell me if they think what I'm saying is on point or BS.
Well, why don't you, I would like it if you would include me and Jennifer at least on your. You have our email addresses, Aaron?
I will email it to city council email address and to the rest of the committee members. I'm not allowed to email you individually. That's the way we were told about emailing, but I can email it to city council and Christine will send it out to all of you, I'm sure is how it works. You're
allowed to email 3 city council members. That's Quinn, me, and Jennifer. That's part of we don't have quorum for this committee or for council. You can email all 3 of us. And since we all have like really tight schedules, and this is technically a part-time job, you know, if you email it, if use all of you email your comments and desired changes to all of us, then we have a shot at like everybody being able to find time to respond. Because don't we want to respond to this, Quinn, before next Wednesday?
So we can't respond with 4 people. Let's see, there's 7 people, so 4 people is the quorum. So you can't respond if it's 4 people. So that's why Aaron's idea of going through city council is the correct way of making sure we're not violating the OPMA.
I just meant respond by the 3 of us commenting during the city council meeting. Respond in that way.
Yeah, we can respond in that way. We can't respond if there's more than 3 people.
No.
And we also can't have like separate chains
Okay.
that are going on.
All right, city council it is. My bad. Okay. Are there any more things on this? Can we go on to the July 27th, or does somebody else have something on this one? Sarah, please go ahead.
I just want to endorse Aaron's suggestion and add that I think frontline people who deal with the public are also a category that's really important, because they're the places where people actually experience the city of Bremerton on a day-to-day kind of basis.
That's an excellent suggestion. Please write it down.
Aaron,
Seriously.
an amendment to add it to yours.
Aaron, you're muted.
I just said I'll put it in my email, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this before we move on to the next item? Okay, so Darryl, Glenna, Aaron, please tell us about your preparations for your presentation on how the City of Bremerton can take full advantage of GARE membership to the council for the July 27th study session.
So I can speak on this. So we as committee members still don't have access to GARE, but I luckily have access to GARE through my place of employment because the Kitsap Regional Library is also a member of GARE. So I've been perusing their resources. We've met a few times to go over which are the more pertinent ones to bring to City Council, and that'll be ready on the 27th.
It'll be ready on the 27th?
By the 27th for that presentation. Were you hoping to get like the full presentation tonight?
A heads up beforehand would be helpful. If we can't get it, we can't get it.
We could talk through how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We don't have slides prepared yet, but we could verbally explain what we're going to do.
So
I'm sorry. I just had a question. Go ahead. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Darryl. What's your question? Okay.
That's all right. Never mind.
Okay.
So I was going to give a brief overview of the website and how it works, and also a very brief overview as to how committee or city council members and any member of the city of Bremerton, any employee of the city of Bremerton can gain access to the website. And then I was going to highlight some key resources, not only put together by GARE itself, because they have several, they have a lot of tools and research that is specifically relevant to cities like Bremerton, but we were also going to highlight the ways in which other members of GARE are utilizing the discussion posts. And then we were going to a couple of different resources that we found specifically pertinent to different city departments and how they may best work together. And also we were going to tie those into the specific goals that came out of the community discussion that happened several months ago. We were looking at the top goals that the community had for us and what specific resources GARE had that would relate to those goals to educate both the city council members and any member, any employee of the city to meet those, to help meet those goals.
Make a suggestion just for you three, for our mutual consideration, that it's a more persuasive narrative if you go, we met with the people, they said they wanted XYZ. GARE provides this part of XYZ. Here's GARE. here's how you access it. So just like a narrative. I've heard several of you give impassioned descriptions of GARE, but if you connect it to the community event and then to how wonderful GARE is, and then go into how to access it, it's just a suggestion I'm making.
All right, that sounds good. I do think, yeah, like Airen said, we're planning on that. And also I think the big point is that I oftentimes think the question comes up of, well, where do we even start and where do we find resources for these things that the community has specifically asked of us? And we now have a substantial, substantial access to abundant resources that not only like is an answer to all of those directives from the community, but also subsequently provide specific answers to specific community asks as well.
Quinn, can I just make a suggestion to you, which is that we make sure that everybody on council, Darryl, I'll be with you in 1 second. I'm so sorry I didn't see your hand. So that everybody on council knows how to log in to GARE before the 27th.
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna put a memo together that I'm hoping the mayor can distribute to all of his staff as well. That it's kind of like, this is what GARE is. These are the resources. Here's how you log in. Yeah, so I want to put that together beforehand.
Okay.
I also just wanted to say that we were going to briefly address that at the beginning. It would be even better if it was addressed beforehand. But I just want to say on the record, it is abundantly easy to sign up for a GARE, for a login to GARE. All you have to do is input your name, your email, and you need to choose the government agency that you're affiliated with. And then they say, we'll grant you access in 2 to 3 days. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I just put in my work email. I clicked that I was affiliated with the Kitsap Regional Library, and I was given access 2 days later.
So if council got that email by Monday,
they'd have access by Wednesday. Yeah,
exactly. So that might be useful. Darryl, extremely patient Riley.
I think you used the word a few minutes ago, and I think I need to speak on that. You said that we're going to try to sway the council. We're not there to sway them. We're not there to kiss no rings. We're trying to give you information to do what's right. We're not begging nobody to do nothing that they shouldn't be doing anyway. It's been 6 months. You feel me? We don't have time to come and sway them. So I'm gonna let Airen and her speak on it, because I already know how some of them feel about me. It's not impassioned. It's just direct and assertive. You know, you're using words like sway, like we gotta beg them to do their job.
Okay, Darryl, I am a retired English professor. That's not how I'm using sway. And impassioned, when I use it, is a compliment.
But that's how you framing it. Like we're supposed to make it nice and sweet for them so that they'll do what we ask them to do. We're not trying to beg them to do nothing, but tell them to do their job. We're advising them. So and the reason I keep coming back to this type of situation is because you keep trying to soften the blow. You keep trying to soften the blow for the council when they're not the ones suffering. They're not the ones out in the streets. You know, Anna, I don't have to. So I'm not going to let you sit here and play this patsy game on how we got to make it sweet and nice for them to digest. They need to be doing their damn job. They should have been on GARE before now. At least let us get in there. This don't make no sense. This is corny. This is corny. And now you want to send them an email to prepare them for what we gonna tell them. Then what are we going for? You could have been sent that email.
Well,
we got to go outside of city government that we paid for to go get in a program that we paid for. And now we got to go before them to beg them and sway them to use the system that we paid for, that we had to go elsewhere to get into. So no, I'm not into the nice language when this don't make no sense. This is like spitting in my face. I'm done for the night.
Okay. Sarah, please go ahead. Sarah, you're muted.
Thank you. I just want to thank Glenna for putting together the presentation. And I particularly like that there is a specific link between what community ads has for and what different departments can do. So I think that kind of specificity is going to be really helpful. It seems like a lot of people, when they start thinking about race, their adrenaline pumps in and then they get all excited and they can't think straight. So I think giving very specific next steps is going to be just really helpful, and I appreciate you doing that. I just want to put on the record that I'm appalled that Glenna has to go to a different source in order to access GARE this many months in. I'm glad she's able to do that and willing to do that, but I just find that just appalling and mystifying. So I really appreciate all the folks who are going to City Council, and I appreciate, I certainly am feeling some of Darryl's frustration.
Airen, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things more about the presentation that we're working on. And then also I just want to echo the piece about how long we haven't gotten in. We haven't gotten in as REAC members. And I want to just sort of highlight, we're so lucky, right, that Glenna works at the library, and the library is a member, and somebody who works at the library happens to be on REAC, and we could get in that way. But if that weren't the case and we didn't have access, this would feel like quite a setup that we are going to go in front of the city council at a study session to tell them how to best take advantage of a website. And that body, the institution, is preventing us from even getting in to fully peruse it. How do you coach someone? How do you give them advice, which is our work, on how to best do this work if they are putting up a barrier to us to even getting in to tell them about that resource? So it's very ironic. And luckily, the library has got their stuff together and is in there working it. So we were able to get in there and look at it. But I wanted to point out a couple more things. Glenna covered almost every single thing we talked about. There's a few more. One is we do have these direct connections between the feedback from the community forum, right? The things that have the percentages. We have direct connections to those to specific tools, right, that are on the GARE website to give them examples. For every one of those points, there's going to be way more than one tool, but we have sort of examples so they can see. And another thing is that there's other things on the GARE website that aren't even like a specific tool, but a more even a framework. So for example, many jurisdictions create steering committees, or like a body that brings together folks across places. You're hearing me broken record now. This is what Change the Power has been talking about for a year and a half, Change the Power work group. Steering committees that bring together city council members, heads of departments, community members like those that serve on REAC, the mayor. And that is the body, when it starts to do these other things and implement the tools, like look at policies across the board, that body holds that responsibility, and it has representation from all those groups. So we'll have those examples to show too, which again goes back to the community forum. But there will be that direct tie, and I just wanted to highlight that. And I don't see any reason that, also just saying to fellow community members, any reason that we as community members can't just walk into City Norm Dick's building with slips of paper that say, did you know that as a person who has a City of Bremerton email address, you can go on this website and have all these free resources, and you can use them to do your job and engage community and connect with community better. And I'm going to do that because it seems like it's the only way that we're going to get this done quick.
I know it's on old business, but I just want to bring it up right now that IT let me know kind of one of the hurdles is the fact that you all are community members and not employees of the city. Glenna was able to access her GARE membership because she's an actual employee of the library. it would actually cost $1,200 to sign each of you up for a domain, plus $400 a year, which is a lot more than the actual GARE membership, which I'm fine asking for and moving forward. But I just want to let you know that there's a reason that you all have had the inability to actually get onto it. We can't violate GARE's licensing. I don't want to put our entire membership and licensing in issue by. I would love to share my username with folks so that you could get in. But other than that, what IT has told me is it's $1,200 plus $400 a year per each person, and that's compared to our $1,000 city membership. I'm fine asking council for that money. I don't think it's that much. Just to let you know, that's the cost of you all getting a domain with the city.
Is there a way of I'm sorry, Airen, you had your hand up first.
Quinn, does GARE prohibit us from sharing, or does GARE prohibit us, for example, from like an existing email address that would already have access that multiple people already check, like the one that Christine and Lori use? Does GARE, because they're going to access it using the same one, correct? Does GARE prohibit us from sharing?
They're not going to use the same one. They're going to use their individual email address. So every single person at the city has their own individual email address, and they're going to use that to set up a profile. So that's the question I have into GARE right now. Once I got the question answered by IT, why we can't just issue you all city emails. They haven't responded to that yet. Again, I just don't want to violate any sort of licensure issues and then put our entire membership at issue. So I'll continue kind of asking if GARE is able to do that. The way that they framed it for me at the beginning is you have to be an employee and you have to have that domain to get into the system. So, I'd assume that the kind of spirit of GARE would allow for that, but I also don't know what their finance structure is and their licensure requirements. So I'm going to have to wait for them to get back to me on that.
Okay, as the facilitator, since that's old business, and since we have been talking for quite a while around the subject of REAC's purpose, structure, and the city attorney's memo, since a lot of what we're talking about depends on that, I'm just going to move us forward to number 6, because we have had, to my direct recollection, this is the third discussion of why don't we have GARE membership? Because you aren't city employees. So I'm just going to move us forward to looking at our purpose and structure, and perhaps, because Quinn, you're the only guy who knows all this. Like the rest of us don't know the options for the committee relating to structure. Am I correct? Because you're the one who's been talking to.
I mean, I've been talking to Kylie. Kylie's the one that knows like the actual options, and that's why she's going to be attending our next meeting on August 10th to answer any questions about OPMA, structure, anything that's burning. At the last meeting, I did ask folks to email me with any questions that I could queue up for her that you have around OPMA, that you have around structure, that I could put to them to get into a legal memo. I didn't receive anything from folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to queue up what I think are the questions that most people have been like at least asking in conversation. But the good thing is we will have Kylie, I've already confirmed with her at our next meeting to answer any of our questions that we have and kind of guide us through that process of making this an actual ordinance, making this a structured committee that would allow us to kind of determine our own fate.
And you'd prefer to table that until next month's meeting when Kylie will be here?
I mean, I can try and field any questions that people have right now, but again, it's going to be Kylie is the legal advisor of the city, so I can step in with, hey, let me put that into a question for Kylie. But my expertise is in discrimination law. It's not in government structure.
Okay. Sarah, Glenna, Airen, do you have any questions on the legal memo that we received?
If we want to, I don't have any right at this moment. If we want to email them to you, Quinn, when do you need them by? What is your deadline, please?
Yeah, I think it's fair to get them a question for a legal memo by next Friday. They have obviously lots of competing priorities, but I don't think this is a very large legal memo, and they've already created one for us in March. So if you could email them to be my next Friday, I can put it into a consolidated document.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions about item 6A, options for committee relating to structure? Questions, comments? Okay. Anything on the Open Public Meeting Act? I thought that became really clear last month, but over to you guys. Sorry, try not to sneeze. Any questions on that? Okay. What should be included in REAC's work plan, and what are REAC's priorities? This is my favorite part of the agenda so far. Yeah, Airen, please go ahead.
This is the thing, Sarah, to me, this is what Sarah referred to earlier. Back originally, Sarah and I were on to lead the REAC meeting in December of 2021 to do some visioning for exactly that. And that would lead to having our retreat at the beginning of 2022, like we were supposed to, and it didn't happen. So my thought would be we need to have a process like that. We're not going to just come up with those, in a 15-minute thing. I think we need to have a retreat.
Can we have a retreat at one of the picnic table pavilions at Evergreen Park?
I don't know if that's directed towards anybody, but I think we just check with staff and Kylie. I think we can meet however and wherever we want, as long as it is open to the public and we have notice of quorum issued to the public.
Because that seems good to me. With the way case numbers are rising, it would be good for us all to, I think, to sit around a table. And sitting around a table outside is about as public safety, health conscious as I can think of.
Great. Are there good dates for folks that they would want to do the retreat? I'm going to be gone for some of August, but I think the sooner the better, in my opinion.
How about next Thursday, kind of concurrent with the farmers market, which runs from 4 to 7 at Evergreen?
I'm leaving on Monday for 3 weeks.
Okay. How about if we all run out into the street right now? Okay.
Sarah, when do you get back? And Quinn, when are you gone in August?
I get back August 7th.
And I leave the 12th.
Okay, so between August 7th and 12th, Glenna, does that work for you?
I think my schedule is pretty open then.
Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 11th. Can we just make that longer meeting and only be a retreat?
I'm going to be away that day.
Okay. The 11th? I thought you're away the 11th?
Yes, I'm coming back and then I'm going on a canoe journey, so I will be away.
Okay. All right, so you won't be at the next meeting in any event?
Correct.
Okay.
I thought the meeting was the 24th.
No, we meet on the, the second Thursday of the month.
Okay, that's right. Sorry.
No worries. All of us have multiple meetings that we're juggling in our heads.
I mean, maybe we should, because of this scheduling thing we're encountering right now, because Darryl's not here and because we have at least one new member coming on, maybe we shouldn't try to do it I get what you're saying, Quinn, but like about sooner is better. However, maybe we should look to like early fall when hopefully everybody will be around. We'll have our new member on the new member should be on for the retreat, I think.
Okay. So defer consideration of a retreat date until next month. Okay, Sarah, since you won't be here, we need to know what times don't work for you in August and September. Is that a complicated list for you to put together?
No.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we might actually get this done. That would be like really super and good. Okay, anything else on this one? All right. So all of us want to answer the question, what should be included in our work plan and what are our priorities? We want to consider that at the retreat, not during this meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Then are there any working team reports?
So change the power team can't meet because there's 4 of us on it.
Well, you got to bump somebody.
I guess. Go ahead.
I was going to say I should probably bump myself. I recently had to step down from a board position just to make room for other committees. So
we already bumped you. Remember, to get down to 4. We have Sarah and Glenna and myself and Darryl were the ones working on it to plan the forum.
Sorry. So, yeah, I totally forgot that. Okay.
So that's why I asked Christine to add, and thank you, Christine, for adding discussion of working team rosters onto the agenda here, because if we're going to keep our same working teams, I think we need to figure out who's going to be on which ones to not violate quorum.
Sarah?
Yeah, the working teams came out of the retreat last time, so we don't know, depending on our priorities, what working teams will actually need. So,
but we do know that they need to be a maximum of 3 people.
Well, unless we get on the REAC, and then we have a maximum of 4.
Yeah, as soon as Laomi accepts, then the maximum is 4, because we would have 8 people total. Is that right? There's 7 now. It would be 8. You can't have more than half, so 4 once Laomi joins and accepts.
So 4 is the quorum either way.
Once she joins, if we don't lose anybody.
Okay, so
have either of the other 2 working teams haven't been meeting either? Is that accurate? Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have a suggestion about any way to enable change the power to meet other than waiting for the roster, waiting for the retreat to discuss it?
Oh, I'm happy to drop off if you all want to keep meeting, because I'm going to be gone so much anyway.
Well, right now, like, not as change the power, but Glenna and Darryl and I are meeting to prepare this presentation, which is just an ad hoc meeting. It's not a working group or whatever. I'm going to suggest that maybe we put the pause on the working teams until the retreat. And at the retreat, we'll figure out what's going on. And that might end up in, okay, we want to keep these same working teams, and now let's figure out who's on which one. Or it might end up in different working teams and not having these anymore. Or it might end up in a different structure, who knows. But I'm just going to kind of formally suggest that we say these working teams are temporarily on hiatus or whatever until after the retreat.
Sure, that sounds fine. Okay, well, we've already done the status, moving on to old business. We've already done the status update for the GARA login credentials. I do not know how to cut that Gordian knot. So Quinn, you're pursuing that?
Sorry, you cut out on I heard my name, I think. Could you repeat what you said?
Hang on.
Oh, it's my connection. I just got a notice that I have an unstable connection.
Okay.
Sorry.
On the note of emails for GARE, I know we've covered this. I just had 2 quick questions that I wondered if either could be solved by GARE or by the city. Would it be possible for GARE to give us access via our own emails as an exception because we are affiliated with the city. I think that would be a question to pose to Gare. And is that a hard and fast no?
That was the first question I asked
Okay.
before this deliberation. Yeah.
Right. I'm remembering that now. Second question is, would it be cheaper and would it be reasonable to just make like a REAC email and for us to share access to, for committee members to share access via that email address?
And that's also the new question that I have to Gare is one, like, can we share? Like, well, I guess it's share anyway, right? Like, because I wanted to basically just give you all my login if they're okay with that. And then if they're not okay with that, like the second question was like, hey, can we create like one just for this committee? And I'm waiting back to hear back about that. Yeah, because that's exactly what I was thinking too.
Okay. Anything else on this? It is now 7:41. Can we move on to the Bainbridge REAC? And I'm just going to say, I will not be attending.
I have an update on that. They emailed me. I'm the one who's been coordinating with them. And the update will relate to who would be able to attend. So they emailed me to say the last time our two REACs met, we talked about meeting again on July 28th. Since that time, the governor has stated that all public meetings must be in person. That means the City of Bainbridge Island REAC is now meeting in person and must conduct all of our meetings in person.
What?
I'm just reading you what
No,
they
no,
gave.
sorry.
I'm just going to read you what they gave to me, and then we can talk about it. So that's what they said, and they laid out some options that would work for them, and I'm bringing those options before you all, and then we can give them feedback on those options. So it says the City of Bainbridge Island Race Equity Advisory Committee's enabling legislation, and they cite the code, includes language that the Bainbridge REAC meetings are held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Thus, we need a plan for a meeting with access in person for members of the public. After that, and then they say, I confirmed this with the city attorney, and here are the options they laid out for us. Option one, hold the meeting in Bainbridge Island City Hall, but it would need to be on a different date than July 28th because the City Hall is already being used on that date. And they suggested maybe one of their regular REAC meeting dates. So like August 4th or September 1st, for example. The option two was look at a different date. It's not one of their regular meeting nights, but still hosted at Bainbridge City Hall. Option three, ask us to host. Option four, cancel the meeting in July and begin the process of finding a new date for October, because we sort of talked about maybe doing it like as a quarterly thing. That's why they're saying October. So I said I'd bring those before you and get back to them.
Well, City Council last night determined that no meetings would be held in person per the advice of the Kitsap Public Health District. So I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Airen, by going, what? Because it was so surprising. So there isn't any way we could host them. And Quinn, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're looking forward to October as a possible beginning for in-person meetings. Okay, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have enough on our plate between trying to figure out our legal structure and trying to have a retreat, and I suggest we postpone at least until October.
That's fine by me. Glenna, are you okay with that?
That's fine. Quinn?
Okay.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay, thank you very much, Airen. All right. New business, discussion on how to address community concerns sent or forwarded to Bremerton REAC versus via email. I am not getting any of these emails, or I haven't gotten any for quite some time. So over to you, Quinn. Yeah, Airen, please go ahead.
I asked for this to be put on the agenda. Thanks, Christine, for adding it. So every so often, those of us who are on REAC, we'll get forwarded or copied on a reply, usually to a community member who sent something to the city. And the reply will say something like, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your concern. on our reply, and it'll reply whatever, and it'll say on our reply, we're copying, Bremerton REAC because your issue relates to race equity or something, right? And there have been maybe 10 or 12 of these in the last year. I just noticed that we don't have a process when we see one of those things come through for then saying, hey, do we want to put this on our agenda or talking about it or whatever. I want there to be some kind of a process, because as it stands now, I see that email and I just sort of I look at it and you know what I mean? We're being included on it in the reply. What is the step we should take as a committee when that happens? Because I don't see any further communication to tell us, like, we included you all on this and here is what happened to resolve that issue and whatever, So if we're being included on it, we're being pulled into the loop, but where is our role in engaging with the issue? Whatever it might be.
I think I have what my understanding of that answer would be, and that is, whenever Lori or Christine sees something that relates to city council, mayor, commissions, whatever the citizen concern is, they will filter that, hopefully to get us the attention of whoever it might need to be. I think the best way is to, when the agenda comes out for amending, if it's something that one of you all thinks like, hey, we should be talking about, Mi Familia, or we should be talking about XYZ, amend it, put a proposal to amend it to the agenda, either in that email after Christine sends the agenda, or bring it up during the agenda amendment part during the meeting. Again, we can't have a discussion about whether or not it should be added to the agenda via email as a group, like we could as 3 people. But otherwise, I think it's just adding something that somebody feels strongly about when those 2 opportunities present themselves.
Okay. That seems really reasonable to me. Okay, did that answer your question, Airen?
I think I'd like to hear Sarah and Glenna. Does that sound good to you?
Okay, but it is now 7:47, and I'd like to let the public get their opportunity to speak soon.
That feels like a fine process to me right now. I do wonder if we can add it to like the list of things we want to cover in a retreat, because it doesn't seem like the best answer to me long term, but that's perfectly fine for the status quo right now.
Okay, Sarah, you're okay with it? Okay, then with your consent, I would like to move past the establishing the rules for August 11th and let the public have an opportunity to comment, and then we can go back and revisit it. I feel making the public wait like past 8 o'clock is just kind of onerous for them. Is that okay by you guys? Okay. All right, I'm going to mess up the wording. So Quinn, be ready to critique. This is the section of the meeting where public recognition and comment is invited and encouraged. Please state your name for the record and try to confine your remarks to 3 minutes in length. Does any member of the public wish to comment at this time? Please indicate by raising your hand using the raise hand feature on Zoom. Okay, we have Christine and Marwan Cameron. Mr. Cameron, do you wish to comment? Okay, because Teresa Jones was on there and now she's gone. Okay. Seeing no one, I close public comment. Okay. All right. What are the things that I skipped past that you really wanted to discuss? Anything? Okay. Roles for the August 11th meeting? Anyone for land acknowledgement reader? Thank you, Glenna. Timekeeper. Thank you, Airen. Note taker. I feel we should put that on Jennifer since she's not here and has no way to protest. Yeah, just write her and Jennifer's doing it. Facilitator. Quinn, can you do that as well as tech host? Are you going to be here?
It's a question up in the air if I'm actually going to be attending or if Kylie's going to be kind of helping me with that. I'm leaving the country and we haven't determined like if we're adding like a mini step to the trip. So I don't think I should be the facilitator, but I can definitely be the agenda creator. So far, Christine has been the one that's been creating agendas, and I will solicit input and create the agenda. I think that's a good aspect.
All right, well, I will take another whack at being the facilitator. I got to say, it's a lot easier to run a meeting that goes by Robert's Rules of Order, but I think for like Public Works, it's a lot easier. But this is, I think, more, it's closer to Occupy, which always makes me happy. Is that making sense? Yeah. Okay, so I will try to facilitate in a more Occupy type way. And it is now 7:51. Is there anything to say before the meeting is adjourned? Any closing remarks? Going once, going twice. I declare the July 14th Happy Bastille Day meeting of the Race Equity Advisory Committee adjourned. Have a really good weekend.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
All right, y'all. That is our first coverage of the Race Equity Committee. Not very remarkable. Definitely some concerns. What I'd like to do is maybe reserve my thoughts and comments until I attend another one and see if things change. Didn't see a lot of progress there. I got definitely frustration. Darryl Riley. I don't know. I just got the sense that there was more emphasis put on pushing through the meeting than talking about things of substance. Even to the point of trying to get to public comment, and there was only two people there, and neither one of us commented. So it was like that rush to get there when things could have been resolved, I think would have been impactful. Optically, I think that's a huge concern. I don't know who the other members on the committee are, but when I think of race equity and I look up and I see a bunch of white folks, it's like, okay, so what is this? I also wonder, you've got Quinn, Chamberlin, and Mockler that are also city council. And so they're on race equity, and then they're also on city council. And so it's interesting that there's so much frustration when there's so many council people on this committee, and why they're finding such issue when that is what are there 7 council people? So that's almost half, right? And they're struggling to have their voices heard and pushing through these issues. So this is very concerning to me. I've been asked by more than one person to be a part of this. I have no desire to do that. One, like I said, I didn't like what I saw. Things that I've heard in the past, I'm not a fan of. But also, the quorum is a huge issue for me. Being in the community as I am, that's not good. Limited to restricting my movement. Now, what I will say is when you create some of these barriers, and if you're thinking about race and equity, and you talk about quorums, like I can understand the idea of you have folks meeting together, uh, and because you have this certain number that can execute things, and these 4 people can go off and plan things of that nature, right? But this is a very small community, and there's so much overlap that, to me, I find it ridiculous and feckless to have such a quorum rules put on to a committee where it's already difficult to find folks that have the time. I don't know if this committee has a stipend. If it did, it would definitely be unremarkable, right? City council receives $1,000 a month, which is already a laughable amount for what they're tasked to do. And so this is, again, more more sacrifice, more time, uh, without a lot of support, either through city council, the mayor, um, and the community at large, right? I mean, when you look at it, you have Darryl Riley who was present, and so is the community backing him and supporting him, or is he withering on the vine alone, as Leslie Doggs was? I know that's uh, some of how she was saying that she felt, right? So she hung in there as long as she could. And then after 12 years and all that stuff that went on, you can look at, articles in the Kitsap Sun. You can look back at different city council meetings. You can even look back at some of our old podcasts with Leslie in there to see what those issues were, right? And that's a huge concern, is who is, in a sense, like Darryl, going to become a martyr for their community. So it's a very thankless position to come in, to make your voice heard, to take all the slings and arrows, which I saw tonight, right? There was some very, um, I wouldn't even say covert, some very overt, not even passive aggressive, just aggressive, or I would say disrespectful engagement between Anna and Darryl this evening. Um, almost as to try to pacify, placate, the names, and just sitting back, being an outsider, just watching the engagement that she had with him versus what she had with other people. So I find that troublesome and concerning. Definitely a concern. And again, like I said, whatever this database is that folks don't have access to, what was going through my mind, one, in the regards of time, uh, is, all right, we think about civil rights and during that era of King and all the others. And I'm wondering, are they so focused on time? It's like, up, we got to stop the fight right now because we got to try to keep this thing under a certain amount of time, right? So literally, the goal is to give 90 minutes once a month to this effort. I don't know how much you're going to get done on your own personal goals or in life, but if you're only really spending 90 minutes a month focused on something, and those are ancillary and a collateral duty that you need to go off and do some work outside of that. I don't know how you expect to really get anything of substance done, right? Now, at the same time, Daryl's absolutely right, right? If he steps off, then there is no representation. So you're kind of in a rock and a hard spot. Then if he steps off, it's like, oh, why did you leave? We needed you there. We need your voice, right? It's like, well, hell, my voice was there. No one else came and joined me. So I'm not taking this all on myself, right? That's a heavy load. So who of you out there is willing to join him before he leaves and maybe right their ship and put it in the right direction? Some of the things, shout out to Martitha May and Akuye, they talk about, uh, racial equity in regards to the largest employer here, which is PSNS or the Navy. Then you look at our city council and look at the representation there, Black therein. And then you look at the race equity committee this evening. And so I wonder why we're still having these conversations and this incremental change, this marginal change. And folks will say, hey, it's a win, right? We're moving in the right direction. Lots of questions that I have. I don't think it's for a react, but, as Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, my thought is, how much do the city, the county, the college, the Navy, the school district, our largest employers, our hospitals, put forward to Juneteenth versus how much they put forward to the Blackberry Festival or the other things that we have going on in this county? So there's definitely a need, and that's just one, right? We're just talking about Juneteenth there. When we had our housing conversation yesterday, I believe it was Katie, if I'm not mistaken. She mentioned that, was it Katie? Maybe it was earlier in the day, or in our commissioners meeting. The conversation said that, only 40% of people here in the county own their homes, right? And so if we look at that breakdown, what does that look like? What are the average rents that Black people pay? And how does that compare to their wages? Lots of questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to cover this as we are. As I said before, as more and more of these things come up, I can't cover all these on my own. So if you want to join the Conduit and help us to cover these events, just reach out. The Conduit Podcast at gmail.com. The Conduit Podcast Show at gmail.com. And let me know. It can be just as simple as, launching the show live so people can have access to it. I can let you know I have never participated in a REACT meeting. I think I participated in one, and that's when Leslie Doggs was leaving. So I believe that was REACT. Pretty sure. Could have been City Council. It was actually difficult to find where it's broadcast or where the Zoom link is on the city website. And so you don't know what you don't know. So I will continue to try to bring these events, these folks that are right now with REACT attempting to steer decisions and looking at how the city and the mayor operates through a racial equity lens. I will continue to cover the city council meetings and add to that. But again, if you want to help with that, please reach out because there's a lot of work to do. It's pretty easy. I will show you a little bit later. I had a bunch of junior high students in here today. Well, I guess they're graduates, so they'll be seniors next year. Shout out again to the Goodwill Youth STEM program. Shout out to Shaylin Houston. So they are all here in studio today, getting the behind the scenes look. They all got a chance to, use all the equipment and do their own podcast. So they're pretty scary. So that won't be aired live. You might see some snippets of it. But it was a good experience for them, right, to get in and understand what that looks like and put their hands on things. Lots of different learning styles. And one of those is that kinesthetic learning, right? Being able to do. So they're here sitting in my seat, using the mics, changing the cameras, hitting the sounds, bringing the music up and down and all that good stuff. And then even trying to engage with each other, right? It's not enough to just come on and be able to use, the different buttons and things like that. You also need to keep the show going and have conversations. And those things all have to happen simultaneously. So a lot goes into that. So again, shout out to Shaylin and to that program. I think that's awesome what she's doing for the kids. And, when she does something, she puts 150% into it, especially when it comes to the kids. So, yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. I love seeing new novel ideas on how to engage people. And that's one of them. So definitely here for that. All right. Anyhow, today is Thursday night. I was going to do a different show, put it on the hoodie and have a trigger alert. It's kind of a long show. It's about 2 hours long. I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight because of the REAC meeting. I almost forgot about that. So I got to start putting that on my schedule now so that we're covering that. So I might get into it tomorrow. Do I have a show tomorrow? Tomorrow is Friday. Man, there's so much stuff going on. Do you understand that tomorrow is July 15th? It was just the 4th of July, 10 days ago. We're so far past the 4th, it's not even funny. We are almost in August. Just saying, y'all, if you ain't ready, you better get ready. Winter's coming. It's going to be a tough winter. It's going to be a tough winter. It's going to be a tough winter. So shake it off. Get your affairs in order. It's important. Anyhow, let me get out of here. All right. That was REAC, a Race Equity Advisory Committee. We'll be back in 2 weeks to cover them again. I'll try to reach out to them too, see if I can get them onto the show and ask them, why are they even on that committee? Why is it important to them? And I understand we can see what the goals are of that committee, but do they believe that they are working on those goals? Are they hitting those goals? What do they need to do different? What are their challenges? What are their issues? How do they pull more people in? Which is always an issue with all these types of things, right? If it was easy, we'd have 50, 100, 1,000 people all working on different committees, but that's not the case, right? So if you want things to change, you do need to get involved. Otherwise, it's going to just either one, stay the same, or two, it's going to change without your input. And typically when that's the case, it doesn't change in the way that you like. So get involved, people, empower yourself. Does require you to prioritize. If you notice, Darryl looked like he was at his one of his businesses at Snap Fitness, and he's still making time out to engage and jump in, right? And so that's what it looks like, right? They can't all be all fun and games, right? For those of us that have children or plan on having children or just want to leave the community, their city, their county better than when they engage with it, it's going to require activity, engagement, and work. You will never rest. You can't rest either. All right, y'all. To Everlasting Energy, I'm R1 Cameron. This is The Conduit.